insane. And I can't even blame it on Mondays. I think every day has just become a chore. I tell you guys, it has been just tired. Started taking vitamins and everything, and I'm still tired. Thank you for the reminder. Oh, actually, it's letting me know that I'm live. Thank you. But I am exhausted, guys. So I'm going to take my time and get through this evening. You guys may have seen that I changed the time, came on a little earlier. Ooh, geez. Came on a little earlier. Sorry. Came on a little earlier because I just felt like I needed to. I'm trying to think if I want to, for YouTube purposes, if I want to put on my earbuds. I'm not sure. I know last time, it's really hard to tell. I think one time I did it, it sounded good. The other time it sounded a little muffled. So I'm going to try and not do it today because I think it did kind of muffle a little bit. So I do see some folks joining me on, what is this, YouTube Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. See, don't see anybody over on IG yet. But we're going to get started, mainly because I'm super tired. And so just kind of want to get through the questions. I have some really good questions. You guys know we do this just about every Monday at 7:30 or 7 o'clock rather. Usually was doing this every Monday at 8, but I recently changed every Monday at, well, today changed to 7 o'clock again, because it's been a long day, guys. So we're going to get through these questions. Hopefully I'll get more folks to join us. I don't know that I'll have time to, for people to ask questions, because I have 3 really kind of hearty questions, guys. So we're going to get into them. But if we do have time at the end, for sure I will, open it up for any questions you guys want to ask live. I'll definitely open it up for that. But let's see. Pull these emails up and jump in. Hopefully everybody is doing well. I know school started today, so that's exciting. There we go. That's exciting. So hopefully you all are doing well and enjoying your, I guess, blessings and prayers for an awesome school year. So hopefully you guys are excited and doing well. Kids, enjoying their new year of school, and parents enjoying the fact that kids are back in school. I know that's always a good time. Of course, you guys know with our children, they're adults. And so I totally didn't even know. I think I found out yesterday that school started today. So I'm like completely out of the loop, which makes sense. I have no reason to be in the loop. But for all you parents who have your kids just starting back up, blessings to an amazing school year. So we're going to jump right in. It's funny, I was looking at, you guys know I do this live on YouTube as well as live on IG, and I haven't really figured out the rhythm yet. I guess we'll get there. But I had one video that I did. I think I did it. It was just a recording. I was talking about my hair, and I shared it on Facebook. And I forget, I had like maybe 40 people look at it. But then I noticed on YouTube that there was like 10 times as many people that looked at it. So that was pretty interesting. Well, maybe not 10 times, probably 5 times as many people that looked at it. So that was pretty interesting. So, hopefully I can get my YouTube following up a little bit. I was trying to get to 300. I think last time I looked, I was like at 292 or something like that. So we can get that number up. That would be awesome. I would appreciate it. So without further ado, hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm going to jump into our first question. First question is, Dear Dr. K, I'm secretly finding myself being overly judgmental and critical of everyone and everything. I can't figure out why, but it is very noticeable. I've never been critical or judgmental before, so I'm embarrassed. I don't say the critical things that I think, but I can tell that is affecting my mood. I'm always annoyed and tired, and annoyed and tired, and I don't want to be around people because all I do in my head is criticize everything that they say and everything they do. Please help me address my negative thoughts. That's an interesting question. I think I'm trying to remember. I think a few weeks ago I had a question similar, but it was a friend of someone who was super critical, and they wrote in saying that, I'm kind of tired of my friend. They're super critical, and I'm kind of thinking about, not being their friend anymore. I think that was a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully, you can check that out as well, because it might give you at least another optic of maybe how other people might be perceiving your negativity. But kudos, first of all, for recognizing that you're feeling negative and recognizing the impact and the way that is affecting your mood. I think that's definitely emotional maturity, to say the least. So that's kudos for that. But I would ask the question, one, was there something that happened that triggered you to start seeing and viewing the world in a negative way? Because sometimes when we experience things like disappointment or hurt or something like that, sometimes we can start looking at the world in a really negative way. If we're, I don't say starting to get used to people treating us poorly, or not having pleasant experiences with people or positive experiences with people, that can turn into, that can leave you feeling super negative as well. If you set out to accomplish something or do something and you didn't feel like you accomplished that thing, or you didn't get the support that you wanted, like there are a lot of things that can happen that could leave you feeling negative. So that would be my first question, or my first bit of advice, is to kind of search and figure out, is there something that happened that left you feeling negative? Like, was there some level of disappointment or something that happened that kind of changed your viewpoint of the world? You said you had never been this negative person before, or this judgmental person before. So I would say start there. Try to kind of think back and see if there's something that happened that kind of was a turning point for you, that caused you to start being negative, or even noticing that you're being more negative. So that'd be the first part of it. Another part of it is, I remember, I think it was, I don't know who it was, but they taught, I think it was Tyra Banks. And there's a quote that I always found interesting, but I remember she was sharing that she was at a party or something, and someone walked in, and she immediately just kind of had like a negative thought about that person. And then she kind of turned it back to herself and said, okay, what's going on with me that I felt that way about that person? A lot of people believe sometimes that we view the world through our own lenses, like the way we see the world is filtered through our own perspective. And that may sound obvious, but what that means is that if there's something, like, the world is really like a reflection of how we think and how we feel. So if you're seeing someone and you're saying something critical, what is that language that you're using? Like, what is it about that person that you're judging? Are you judging that, I don't know, oh, they don't look right in that dress or whatever, that could be a reflection of how you feel about yourself. And not to say that this is the case all the time, but that's a great place to look, is to really start seeing, how am I viewing this person and what is it mirroring back to me about myself? Because the reality is, and I love this, especially as a communicator, the reality is that we get bombarded, like we don't even get to process a fraction of the information, a fraction of the images of the messages and all that stuff that we see every single day. We don't even get to really process a fraction of that. And so when things come up to the surface to the point where you not only see it, but to respond to it, and to respond to it in a negative way, that means you've thought about it, you've processed it, you've given it space in your mental. And so you have to ask yourself, like, wow, what was it about that thing that, one, got my attention, and that, two, caused me to look at it in a negative way? And it might be a good idea to, I don't want to say to not be around people because you're feeling negative, but I think just as you're finding yourself around people, I wouldn't say isolate. I would for sure say continue to do the things that you do, as far as like the social activities or social engagements that you have, but just be really conscious of the negative thoughts that you have. So even if you go out to a party or something and you find yourself throughout the night, having a negative thought or saying something negative about someone that's around you. Make mental note of what is it about that person? What is it that you said? What did it raise up or trigger in you to make you feel like, you wanted to say something negative, or that caused you to say something negative? So hopefully that makes sense. You guys will often find me when I respond, I'm often, saying that I use this term that we're solving for ourselves, because we really are. A lot of times when we look at stuff, we're always thinking, how can I fix the person? How can I change them? How can I make them do something different? But the reality is so everything that you encounter is from your own vantage point. And so everything that you encounter, you're trying to solve for yourself. So if you find yourself being overly negative, as you mentioned, then solve that for yourself and ask yourself the follow-up question: why am I being overly negative? And be honest with yourself in your response. Because that's another thing. A lot of times things happen and we have the tendency to put that off on somebody else, or the tendency to say, oh, they made me do it, or it's because they showed up this way that I feel this way. No, take the ownership of your own emotions and your own feelings and work through that. Figure that out for yourself, solve for yourself. But again, I would say kudos for recognizing that you are having those negative feelings and those negative thoughts. Document it, write it down, really try to solve it. Why are these thoughts coming up, especially if you're someone who's not been negative before? I'll share a story with you, and I think I've shared this before. I actually did a whole video a while back about this. This was several years ago. I remember I was scrolling through social media, and there was somebody on my timeline. I think they had a speaking engagement or something, and I was like, I found myself like, well, why didn't I get to that speaking, not necessarily that speaking engagement, but I felt jealous of the fact that this person had a speaking engagement. And immediately I had to kind of check myself, because like you, I've never been a person that really kind of coveted what other people had, or, I believe what's for me is for me, all those wonderful things. But for whatever reason, that kind of triggered something in me. And what I realized, and I shared this before, is that I was feeling very insecure about my own ministry and the strides that I was making in the work that I was doing. And I found that once I sat with myself and really, assessed my own insecurity in that space, then I was able to work through the feelings that I had, and not only, check myself for, feeling, jealous of this person, but then also being able to, real life, no kidding, like, wow, that's awesome. Congratulate that person on that opportunity. So a lot of times, what we see and what the world is reflecting back to us is our own insecurity or a vulnerability that we have within ourselves. So whatever your language is when you're criticizing somebody, is probably a consistent theme. And it's probably, no matter what the person is, who the person is, it's probably like this consistent kind of voice, or just consistent language that you're putting to whatever the person is doing, whoever the person is, whatever the situation. And it really is, I guess my point is, it's really not about the person as much as it is about you, or as much as it is about that person exposing some kind of insecurity or vulnerability within yourself. And again, we're here to solve for ourselves. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, kudos to you for even recognizing and reaching out and asking the question. So hopefully that was helpful. Let's see, let me just look at it really quick to see if there was anything else that I needed to address in that question. Yeah, well, one thing you said, that you're always annoyed and tired. It is exhausting. I will tell you guys, it is exhausting to, like, I've always been like a doer, and I've always been kind of like, what is the person that always like wants to be in charge, like a type A personality kind of type. I've been like that for a really long time. Thank God, have been delivered from that for the most part. Sometimes I do fall back into it, but it is exhausting when you're always trying to comment, engage, respond to, say something. It's exhausting to have something to say about everything. Like, it's exhausting for your mind and your emotions to be constantly churning over stuff that has nothing to do with you. over people that have nothing to do with you, but you're constantly like in your head. It is exhausting to be that way. So the fact that you said that you are tired, that is no surprise, because it is absolutely exhausting to continue to engage in a way, especially in a negative way. One-sided, and I say one-sided is because you're having all of this conversation, all these emotions yourself, but the person that you're having that towards is none the wiser, right? They're still going around being who they are, doing what they do, because they're not doing it to spite you. They're just being themselves. And so, and you're, while you're, feeling however you feel, it is emotionally taxing and emotionally draining, which is probably why you're tired. So that's a very, very true response. So I think that was it. I think that's it. So hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully, you can get past this, and, get back to, your chipper self, like your glass half full self. So, all right. So I think I spent enough time on that question. Next question. Dear Dr. K, my husband and I are struggling in our marriage. We've been married for 14 years. We have 3 children, ages 12, 10, and 7. We both work, but I seem to have to carry all of the responsibilities. I take care of cooking and cleaning, caring for the children, and having to take care of my husband. Meanwhile, the only thing that he has to do is to go to work and come home. I'm tired of feeling like I have to do everything and not getting any support from him. My frustrations have affected our intimacy. I don't have the desire to have sex with him. We have sex occasionally, but it is only because he bugs me about it until I give in. I feel like I have reached my limits and I'm really ready to call it quits, with an exclamation point. Any advice that you could offer that can help turn things around? Well, that is a mouthful, and that's a lot. I think, and it's not uncommon, I'll say that first and foremost. It's not uncommon within marriages and within relationships. It's unfortunate sometimes, but it's not uncommon for the woman to carry, I think, the heavy load domestically, if that makes sense. And when I say domestically, I'm talking about the cooking and the cleaning and the caring for the children. A lot of times that doesn't change just because you're at work. What I will say is, after, you say how long? 14 years of marriage, I pray that you are able to have the conversation with your husband. And it could be something as simple as, hey, I need help. It could be something as simple as readjusting some things, some schedules, getting your kids involved. You said you have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. There's probably some things that they can help to do to kind of take the load off. If they don't wash their own clothes already, you can teach them to do that. They can have chores around the house to help, keep the house tidy and pick up and clean up. I'll tell you, my children are 3 years apart, and my husband, a lot of you guys know, he was, he's retired military, and he used to travel a lot. And so a couple of things like that you were talking about that made me think about, my own scenario. Because he traveled so much, I constantly felt like I was in single mom mode. Like I was taking the kids to school, picking them up from school if they were ever sick. I never had, vacation time because I always had to take off. If the kids were sick or if they had appointments or anything, it always seemed to fall on me, mainly because my husband traveled a lot. But when he was home, fortunately, he did, help and do things, and there were things that he, instilled that he is better at, if I can say that, or that he enjoys more. I won't say better at. Things that he enjoys more than I do. But as the kids were coming up, and especially as they got older, starting to delegate some of the household responsibilities, starting to set boundaries with regards to the house. So my children, they couldn't play all around the house because I didn't have time to, and I wasn't going to be cleaning up after them. So their toys, they could, if they were in the, family room, or they can have like 1, maybe 2 toys. So if my son is playing with his Batman and Robin, like that was it. You weren't going to have a whole slew of anything in a family room. But in their bedrooms, they could play with whatever they wanted to play with whenever, well, not whenever they wanted to play with it, but they could play with whatever they wanted to play with. And when we came to the end of the week, I would always have them clean up. So they became responsible for cleaning up their own space and cleaning up what they messed up. And not only that, but they weren't able to snack everywhere. So we set boundaries throughout the house where they could live throughout the house, but you weren't they weren't allowed to just mess up all throughout the house. So that might be one thing. Not to say that that's your situation. That might be one way to get the kids involved. That would take some of the pressure, some of the some of the pressure off of you. So that's one of the things. I think also when it comes to like having to cook, maybe doing meal preps. I know a lot of people do that, and that's so popular now. When my kids were coming up, we really didn't do that. It was like I would cook a big pot of spaghetti or a big pot of beans or a big pot of something or a pan of lasagna, something that we can eat off of for a couple of days where I didn't have to cook every single day. So that might be something, if you're not already doing that, that could be something that you could do. You can prepare to cook on Sundays and maybe Wednesdays, and then Saturday or Friday nights, you guys can eat out or whatever, like just making different adjustments and different changes. One of the things I also realized that for me, as my husband, he would, try to help out. But because I told you guys a little earlier, I've always been kind of like a type A personality. So I'd always be like, oh, no, you got to do it this way. Like things as simple as if he's setting the dishwasher, it was, well, no, don't put that there. And I would go behind him and start moving things and putting them in the way that I want. And he got to the point, he was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Like, why am I going to do it if you're just going to come behind me and do something different? So sometimes, again, solving for ourselves, we have to look at how can we do things smarter. And sometimes that means setting boundaries for the kids with regards to where they can play. Sometimes that means taking our hands off and allowing our husbands to load the dishwasher however they want to load the dishwasher. Just grateful that they're helping to load the dishwasher. And then also, I think, as far as like meal planning and meal prepping, like really being serious about how do I maximize my time or optimize my time. Because I'm sure you're helping the kids with homework and all that wonderful stuff. And then I think just real talk, telling your husband you need help, and being very clear on what it is that he can help with. So don't set an expectation for him to do something that he can't do. So don't say, I want you to cook on Tuesdays and Fridays when he can't cook. But if you say, well, I want you to be responsible for dinner 2 days out of the week, I'll be responsible for dinner 2 days out of the week. Don't get mad if he says, okay, on my day of responsibility, I'm ordering pizza. Or my day of responsibility, we're going to Chick-fil-A. Like, don't think that because he's responsible for dinner that he has to go in the kitchen and cook up a, 3 or 4 course meal. Just give him the space and the grace to help out how he's able to help out and being okay with that. Now, that's with all the tangible stuff. With regards to the intimacy, I tell you, 14 years of marriage, 3 children, you don't want to lose that because you're tired and you're frustrated. Like you want to deal with the tired and the frustration and then create space for you guys to, maybe have date night. Your kids are, again, 12, 10, and 7. Now, I wouldn't leave them home by themselves, but maybe once a month, twice a month, you guys can get a babysitter. I don't know if you guys live near parents or other family members. You could probably, get them to stay the night with friends or, something where you and your husband can find some peace and some quality time together. I think also understanding with regards to intimacy, what men don't necessarily realize, and I think they're probably realizing it more because we talk about it a little bit more now, is that intimacy for a woman is like it starts before the bedroom. So wash those dishes, men. Rub a foot every now and then. Those kind of things really add up, and they really help to soften us and prepare us for the physical the physical act of intimacy, sex, right? And so I think, not just saying that, I'm the man and I, like a caveman and, I want to have sex, so you're going to have sex with me. It's like, no, play a part in the whole role of intimacy. Cleaning up is a part of that. Taking the stress off the wife is a part of that. I think sometimes for men, sex is about relieving stress, right? Women, we can't have sex if we're stressed. Like, I think our bodies just don't even function that way. I'm sure some women do, but most of us, our bodies don't function that way. We have to have peace. We have to be ready to open ourselves to the experience, and we can't do that if we're stressed out. So the husbands, it would behoove you to, is that the right word? Yeah. to, to help out so that she is prepared and ready to, open herself and share herself with you in that way. But I will certainly say, don't give up on 14 years of marriage. And all of that. You guys are almost there. The 12-year-old, you got 5 more years, or 6 more years before they're out the house. You guys are closer to that empty nesting space. Within probably the next 10, 11 years, you guys will, be empty nesters. So just hang in there. Communicate. Let your husband know how you feel, what you're thinking, what you need. Look for ways, like I said, to take the domestic pressure off yourself, get your children involved, get your husband involved, allow his solution to be a viable solution. Like I said, if you want him to be responsible for dinner 2 days out of the week, and if he decides that, well, okay, we're going to have pizza or burgers on those days, then you have to be okay with that. As long as there's like no, like allergy related stuff, but just really, allowing him to get involved and allowing him to show up the way that he can show up. I think that would be very, very helpful to you. And in turn, that will help to improve your sex life as well, because when you're not stressed, then you will be, have more energy and more open yourself to, to sexual, in intercourse. Did I say that right? Yeah. Open yourself up to the sex. So, so that's my advice for you to turn things around, as you asked. Any advice on help turn things around? That would be my advice to help turn things around. 1, communicate. 2, create boundaries for the kids in playing. 3, get your husband involved. If cooking dinner is like a stressor, if you need him to help, like my husband is really good, like math wise. I'm really good with like words and English and writing and things like that. So when it came to the kids, when we were able to, we would kind of divide and conquer. So because he was good with math, he would help with the math stuff. It took me a little bit longer. We used to always say that, I'm the inside parent and he's the outside parent, because I was big on arts and crafts and all that stuff. And he was big on like taking the walks and the, feeding the birds and the ducks and all that stuff. So figure out where your strengths are, lean on each other for your strengths, get your husband involved in the ways that he can be involved. And I believe that without question that will open you up more to, to the intimacy, to the sex part of, of your question. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was helpful. Like this is an easy solve, right? This is an easy solve. Don't throw in a towel. Don't give up. You guys, can certainly work through this and figure it out. So, hopefully that was helpful. I am flying through these questions too. So last question. I think I answered everything in that one, so I'm not going to belabor that any longer or any further. But the last question. Dear Dr. K, I follow you on social media and I enjoy watching your outfit of the day videos. So that means you follow me on Facebook, because I think that's the only place I post outfit of the day. You seem to have a keen sense of style. Oh, thank you. And great confidence. I just turned 45 and I don't know my style or what looks good on me. Between having children, getting older, and medication, I'm on antidepressants. I have gained weight over the years. I have zero confidence and I'm struggling with general feelings of sadness all the time. I want to be confident, I want to find love, and I want to be happy. Is there any advice that you can offer to help me get my confidence up? Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for, following me on Facebook. I appreciate that. I do the outfits of the day. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. Maybe I'll talk about that at the end after I answer your question. But the outfits of the day is a tactic for me, and I'll explain more about that. So I'm trying to figure out where to start with the question. I'll start with okay. So you gained weight over the years, you're 45, you don't have a sense of style, you don't know what looks good on you. So you mentioned, I think, these continued feelings of sadness. all the time, like general feelings of sadness all the time. One, I wonder what role, um, well, the fact that you're on antidepressants, I would probably recommend maybe talking to your doctor a little bit more about that if you're still feeling, and I don't know how antidepressants work. I imagine that it helps you to not be depressed, but the fact that you're still feeling general sadness, there may be something more to talk about there. So I'm not going to try to answer for like the medical part of that, but I will say that as we get older, we do gain weight, and our bodies change and things happen in life. And I know people that are on medication, and not just antidepressants, but there are other medications that could cause you to gain weight. And so getting used to your new body is sometimes a learning curve, and you have to kind of figure that out. So the first thing I would say is to be patient with yourself and to be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself and be kind to yourself. Because again, as our body is the only one we have, right? And as we learn to appreciate it and embrace it in all of its changes and all of its stages, it only makes our lives easier, right? Because it doesn't help to just be negative about the way that you look and the way that you feel, because like that's a hard thing to get over. Like if in your head you're like, oh, I don't like how I look, I gained weight, this doesn't fit, this doesn't, like no matter what you try to do is not going to work because you already see yourself in a negative light. So that's what I would say. Try to look in the mirror and identify something that you love about yourself. So a lot of people who've known me for years know that I've always been skinny mini. I've always been like super thin. And since COVID, I too have gained weight, and I've gotten older, and I can't lose the weight like I used to. And so there are parts about my body that I'm having to get used to and embrace. I've learned to just say I'm grateful that I'm healthy. And so learning to embrace the extra pounds or whatever as in exchange for just being healthy. So I think that's the first thing, because again, our bodies, this is the only one that we have, right? So you want to make peace with it. And as you're making peace with it, I would say be kind and gentle and talk. How do you say talk to yourself nice? Talk nice to yourself. Listen to the language and the words that you speak to yourself. Put up affirmations. I don't want to sound quirky or cliche or any of that stuff, but put up affirmations just to affirm yourself, to encourage yourself, to just be at peace with yourself. Like that's the first step. I think with regards to finding your style, one of the things I love to do is I love to go on Pinterest and just kind of play in my closet a little bit and identify maybe some of the things that I might be missing. So I'll go on Pinterest, and I literally have one of my Pinterest boards. It's called 50 Fashion. And what the idea is that, you guys know I just turned 50, I think last year. How old am I? Am I 50 or 51? I just turned 50 a couple of years ago. I'm 51 now. I'll be 52 this year. But nonetheless, I was like, well, how do I dress at 50? As if I had to really make any changes. But I felt like, okay, I'm older, I'm more mature, like I should be dressing older and more mature. But what I realized is that my style, I have like 4 different styles. And most people do. Most people don't just have like one aesthetic. Most people have various styles. And those styles depend on where you're going, what you're feeling like, what you're doing. And sometimes you want to dress according to that. If you're going to a concert, for example, and you want to feel sexy, say you're going to see Babyface. I'm going to see Babyface in a couple of weeks, guys. I'm super excited. I think it's a couple of weeks, but nonetheless, you're going to see Babyface, and he's all romantic and all that stuff. And so you may have a style that's not necessarily what you would wear to church, So you may have your sexy grown woman, in your grown woman bag style, and that could be, leather pants, whatever, like shoulders out, whatever. Embrace it, be cool with it. Don't feel like, oh, I can't, if I run into my pastor, I might feel some kind of way. Listen, if you run into your pastor at Babyface, and he already know what it is. I'm sorry, guys, that was funny. But yeah, dress the way that you feel like you want to dress is my point. But that was so funny, guys. I'm sorry, I'm like seriously laughing on the inside. But yeah, dress the way that you want to dress. Go to Pinterest is where I was going. Go to Pinterest and just like start looking at some of the styles that you see and like pinning some of the things that, oh, I like this, or I like that skirt with that shirt, or I like these boots with that dress, or, you know, well, I would never wear that jacket with those jeans, but that might be a look. Like do stuff like that. You don't have to, you know, put yourself out in for the world to judge it and all that stuff, but you can look at it and play around with it. I think that would be the best advice is like play around with your style. I have this wonderful book. Actually, you guys cannot see. I don't know if you can see on this bookshelf. There's a line of books. Yeah, right there. You see all those books right there? They're all the same, and they're actually a book. And if you want to reply to this email, whoever sent this email, if you want to respond to this email with your address, I will send you one of those books. And the book is called The Worthy Wardrobe, and it's by a beautiful young lady. I can't see her name. I can't see it from over here, but it's by a beautiful young lady. She was actually on the Girlfriend Therapy podcast when we were doing a year of conversations. And she came on and we talked about wardrobes, and she talked about how she found her style. In fact, if anybody that's on either IG Live or YouTube, if you message me, I will definitely get you a copy of that book out. I thought it's such a great book. She talked about how she identified her own style, how she manages her closet today. So if you're interested in that, send me an email with your address. I'll send you the book free of charge. Don't worry about it. I ordered like a whole box, a whole case of her books because I wanted to give it out to people. So if you see this, send me your email or send me your address and I'll get a copy of that book sent out to you. But that's for anybody that's watching or listening. I'll get a copy of it to you as well. But I would say just have fun with your style, right? First of all, talk sweet to yourself. Be kind with yourself. Embrace your body at every stage, especially if you're healthy. Like if there are some health factors where you feel like I need to lose weight because my pressure is high or because of some other, underlying issue or whatever, then in that case, I would say look for ways to lose weight healthy. But if you're healthy, and it really is just a matter of I'm getting older, I'm on medication, I've had children, I've gained weight. Try to figure, still get in the gym because it helps, but find out ways to, to be as healthy as you can. And so if that means working out or doing yoga or Pilates or kickboxing or what's the other one that I can never do? What is that one? It's like Zumba. Yeah, any of that stuff. Like find things like that to get engaged in and get involved in. There's also this other thing that literally just came to me because I just seen it on social media. But there's this, it's a 40 plus double Dutch group, and I cannot think of the name. Oh, it's a double Dutch group, and they're all over 40. I think they're over 40 or over 50 or something. But I think it's a 40 plus or 50 plus double Dutch group. And they are across the country. So try to find one in your area. That might be a great way, one, to get out and be social, but then also being active. That might be a great outlet for you. And then being around other women who are, getting older and other women. Yes, Morgan A. Ryder. Thank you. Other women who are getting older, so that you can kind of bounce off of them and figure out what, or get some guidance or advice on how to age gracefully. So that could be a great way to get involved. But I think also just plan around with your wardrobe because you may not have, because you don't really know what your style is. Sometimes I think what we tend to do is like look at what someone else is wearing and try to mimic that. Fun fact, when I was younger, my mother was very stylish and I used to love to watch her get dressed. And sometimes I will, get dressed and I'll be like, well, this is something my mom would wear, like, because she was super stylish. But I remember when I was younger, I would go to the store and I would literally buy whatever was on the mannequin because I didn't know what my style was. I had no idea. So whatever the mannequin had on, I was like, I'll take that, and that's how I shopped. But as I got older, and even now, I'm still like not just understanding my style, but embracing my style. And as I get older, wondering, like that was one of the questions that I think when I was talking with Morgan when she was on, I was like, you know, do you have to change the way that you dress when you're a particular age? And she was like, not really. Like you have to really, like fashion and style is an extension of us. And so whatever makes you feel good, genuinely, right? You want to embrace that. So whatever your style is, I would say just start playing around with it. And you don't have to get it right all the time. None of us do. You can keep it simple. You can be all out wild and colorful and all that stuff. Yeah, just have fun with it. Have fun with it. Take the pressure off yourself. You're not, you don't have to impress anybody, and I'll tell you, confidence is really key. So when you talk about, wanting to, meet somebody and be in a relationship and all that stuff, confidence is key. So once you embrace your style and you're comfortable with yourself and comfortable with, what you're wearing, when you show up, people are going to see that and they'll be attracted to that. Most men, yeah, they like the physical and the outward appearance and all that stuff, but they are really drawn to confident women as well, just like women are drawn to confident men. So doesn't matter what you look like. If you walk up in there and you have all the confidence in the world, you're gonna turn heads, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, who's that girl with all that, or that woman with all that confidence?" And so, so that'll be the first thing. Is just kind of working on your embracing your body, embracing the changes, embracing you at every stage, having fun with figuring out what your style is. One of the things I love to do, you guys know, if you follow me on social media or Facebook, and if you know my outfits of the day and you mentioned it, I love to thrift. That is a nice, inexpensive way to play around with your wardrobe. You can find, really good quality clothes at a really, affordable price, and and play around with that. Yeah. And then, as far as the confidence, that really just comes from, like, first of all, I'm not always confident. That's the first thing. So sometimes it can be deceiving to look at other people and say, oh man, they're always so confident. That's not the truth. There are things that I'm confident in, and there are things that I'm super insecure about. And sometimes I tend to stay in my lane, where my confidence is, and deal, with those insecurities kind of privately. But when you see anybody publicly, they're going to show up 9 times out of 10, in full confidence. But that's not always that. Like they're not 100%. I can say for me, I'm not 100% confident all day, every day. I have, a lot of things that I'm, not super confident about. So. But the outfits of the day, I like literally do that. One, it helps me to stay engaged via social media, because I tell you, every other day I'm like, I'm going to get off of Facebook every other day. So the outfit of the day is, something that helps me to stay engaged. And then it's something I'm getting dressed every day anyway. So why not do an outfit of the day? Then the second part for me doing the outfit of the day is I'm still playing around with my style. Like I said, I have about 4 different aesthetics, where I can be, sweatpants and Timberland boots, or I can be in pumps and a dress, like in anything in between. So, and I'm okay with that. So I think that's the key. A lot of times we think that we have to dress a certain way because of our age or because of our jobs or whatever. And the reality is that you don't have to. Like, do what makes you happy, what feels good to you as far as your wardrobe, and really have fun with it. And Pinterest is a great way to just kind of explore and figure out like what you might like or what you might want to do. And I promise you, once that confidence kicks in, you'll be turning heads that you didn't even expect to turn. And I believe that you will find love and you will find happiness. But you have to talk to yourself real sweet. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was helpful. But anybody that's on either IG or YouTube, if you guys want a copy of that book, definitely send me an email with your address. You can send me an email or a message in Messenger on either of these platforms, and I'll get a copy of that book out to you. I think I have still looks like about 15 copies or so over there. So First come, first serve. So I think those were all the questions. Hopefully that was helpful. That was a great question too. And I appreciate, looking at, just following with the outfits of the day. And I'll tell you another fun fact for you guys, for the people that do follow me on Facebook, just under, my personal Facebook page. I shared that I do the outfit of the day, one, again, to stay engaged on, via social media. But then also, if I'm being honest, I was like super, like I said, every other day, I'm like, I'm getting off of Facebook, But if I'm being honest, I think I am kind of over like social media. And so I try to keep my page just very benign, very light, very, I'm not trying to tell nobody nothing. I'm not trying to teach, because I don't know about you guys, but everybody on my page is like either they're either everybody's an expert in something, and so you're just constantly scrolling and there's all these people trying to tell you what to do, how to do it, and why you should be doing it better. So I'm trying to be anti that. Like here in Ask Dr. K, that's when I put on my let me give you some advice kind of hat. But other than that, I think I really try to, especially on Facebook, just really try to keep it peaceful. So the outfit of the days, look what I'm reading, that kind of stuff is really just to stay engaged, but to not be, add anything, but not to add anything too heavy, on that platform, because I find that it can be incredibly, I don't know if heavy is the right word, but yeah, it can be a lot. As you guys, I'm sure know, as you're scrolling through social media. But I think that's it, guys. I felt like there was something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. I said if I had time, but I forgot. So if anybody's here from the beginning and remember, and if you're interested in hearing, if you were like just itching to wait, couldn't wait till I got to the end to talk about it, then please drop it in one of the chats. But I don't remember what it was. Yeah, I don't remember what it was, so I apologize. But that is it. I don't see any other questions in the comments. As you guys know, we do this every Monday. I think I'm going to turn it to 7 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. because by 8 p.m. I'm wiped out. So we're going to do every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys should see the updated notice on the page. I do want to ask you guys, like I said, on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, if you're not following the Growth and Therapy channel, please follow us. We're trying to get to 300 followers. Not a lot, guys, but we're trying to get there one like at it or one click at a time. And also for my folks that's on IG Live, if you're not following us on the YouTube channel, if you can run over there and follow us, that would be amazing. Also, don't forget to send in your questions. Please do share the videos as well. What I do find is a lot of times the advice and guidance that I give to some of these questions are relevant to other people and maybe other situations that they're in. So if you, if you don't mind sharing, the video or either pointing people to the videos so they can hear some of the advice and guidance that we give, that would be helpful. Definitely, if you have questions yourself or if you know someone that want to send in questions, you can give them our information. They can send their emails to kwanzaa@growthandtherapy.org. That would be awesome. That will get your questions and, they'll get answered on one of our live sessions here, either on, our live sessions on YouTube and IG. So I think that is it, guys. Let me think if I forgot anything. I don't think that I did. Thank you so much for everybody that joined us on IG, and thank you for folks that joined us on YouTube Live. This is working for me so far, so I'm going to continue to just kind of play on both of these platforms in this space. And like I said, we're going to move to every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for joining us. You guys know I always have trouble trying to hang up or log off. So I'm going to do IG first. Thank you guys for joining. Blessings until next time. There we go there. And I'm going to do YouTube next. Thank you guys for joining. Blessings until next time. Remember, send your questions in. Love you guys. Blessings.